The altimeter glows at 8,000 feet. Lieutenant Robert Bob Bram peers through the frost-rimmed canopy of his Bristol Beaufighter as it slices through the pitch-black night over the North Sea. It's 2:47 a.m. on December 14th, 1941. In the cramped rear compartment, Flight Sergeant William Sticks Gregory hunches over his charts. His pencil scratches against the paper while he recalculates their position for the third time in 20 minutes. His hands tremble, not from fear, but from the savage cold that claws through the aircraft's thin aluminum skin. Outside, the temperature hangs at minus 15 degrees Celsius. Inside, it's hardly warmer. Even wrapped in thick gloves, his fingers barely obey him. He's supposed to be guiding them home to RAF Wittering after another empty patrol, hunting German bombers over the English Channel. But something is terribly wrong with his numbers. They refuse to add up. According to his dead reckoning navigation, wind speed, wind direction, everything, they should already be approaching the English coast near Norfolk. Yet his stopwatch tells a different story. They've been flying homeward for 43 minutes. At their cruising speed of 280 miles per hour, Gregory feels his stomach plunge like a stone. That puts them at least 60 miles past where they should be. He's made a catastrophic mistake. Instead of subtracting degrees to correct for the northeasterly wind pushing them southward, he added them. The kind of error that kills aircrews without a trace. The kind that ends with a Beaufighter plunging into the icy North Sea, and no one ever knowing why. "Sticks, where the hell are we?" Bram's voice crackles over the intercom, tight with tension beneath the static. "We should be seeing the coast by now." Gregory opens his mouth to confess, to admit they're hopelessly lost over enemy-controlled waters. But before the words can escape, "Wait, lights dead ahead!" Bram cuts in, his voice suddenly sharp. "Multiple lights!" In that frozen moment, neither man realizes the truth. Gregory's mathematical blunder hasn't doomed them. It's about to deliver into British hands the location of one of Nazi Germany's most closely guarded secret airfields, a discovery that will shift the balance of the night air war and save thousands of Allied lives. By December 1941, the Luftwaffe's night bombing campaign has become a lethal game of shadows. After the merciless Blitz of 1940 and 1941, German bomber crews have grown cunning. They no longer come in huge, easily tracked formations. Instead, they strike from hidden forward airfields along the occupied European coast. Small, precise waves of aircraft hitting British cities and factories under cover of darkness. British intelligence knows these secret bases exist. They must. German bombers keep appearing over targets with chilling regularity. Yet reconnaissance flights over known Luftwaffe fields in France, Belgium, and the Netherlands reveal only normal activity. The math is simple and terrifying. The Germans are operating from airfields the British have never found. The cost is written in blood and shattered brick. Between September and December 1941, German night raiders kill 1,470 British civilians and obliterate countless factories, warehouses, and vital infrastructure. RAF Fighter Command throws everything into the fight. More night patrols, new radar stations along the coast, daring daylight reconnaissance missions over occupied Europe. The results are heartbreaking. In 3 months of desperate searching, they uncover only 2 previously unknown German airfields, both minor. Meanwhile, the bombers keep coming. The Luftwaffe secrecy is almost flawless now. Strict radio silence, camouflage netting, dummy buildings, aircraft shuffled between bases to confuse tracking. Air Chief Marshal Sir Sholto Douglas, commanding RAF Fighter Command, faces a nightmare. His night fighters patrol blind, burning fuel over empty sea while the enemy slips through. The numbers are brutal. In November 1941, RAF night fighters fly 847 combat patrols and score only 12 confirmed kills, a success rate of just 1.4%. For every German bomber destroyed, the RAF expends 18,000 gallons of precious aviation fuel and risks multiple crews in perilous night operations. The experts agree, without better radar, better equipment, a signals intelligence miracle, they cannot find the hidden bases. The technology simply isn't there yet. Squadron leader Derek Jackson, one of the RAF's finest radar specialists, writes in a classified memo dated November 28, 1941. The current generation of airborne radar cannot reliably detect ground installations from safe altitudes. We are asking our aircrews to search for needles in a haystack the size of continental Europe. The stakes rise higher still. Codebreakers at Bletchley Park are making progress against German ciphers, but they need hard evidence to confirm their breakthroughs. Find one secret airfield, watch its operations, cross-reference with intercepted messages, and the entire cryptanalytic effort could accelerate. Even Prime Minister Winston Churchill is furious. In a war cabinet meeting on December 10, 1941, he slams the table and thunders, "We are being struck by an invisible enemy. This is intolerable. I want those airfields found, and I want them found now." 4 days later, on a freezing night over the North Sea, Flight Sergeant William Gregory is about to give Churchill exactly what he demanded. Though no one, least of all Gregory himself, could ever have imagined how. William Gregory is no one's picture of a war hero. At 23 years old, he is a former grocery clerk from Nottingham who joined the RAF in 1939 because shelving tins of beans felt smaller than the world burning around him. He barely scraped through navigation training at RAF Cranwell, finishing 47th out of 52 students. His instructors wrote in his file, "Adequate mathematical skills, tends to rush calculations, requires additional supervision." Generous words. Gregory knows he's no natural navigator. Some lads in his course could feel the stars in their bones, could dead reckon like it was breathing. Not him. He has to grind for every answer, twice the work for half the result. He carries a battered notebook crammed with formulas, wind correction tables, scraps of memory aids, because the numbers never stay in his head. He checks, rechecks, refers to it constantly on every flight. His pilot, Lieutenant Robert Bram, is almost his mirror opposite. 20 years old and already an ace with 7 confirmed kills. Ice cool under fire, decisive. Blessed with that rare gift. Instructors call it "arse like a pilot," the instinctive feel for an aircraft that makes even seasoned men shake their heads in wonder. Yet Bram is patient with his navigator in a way few others are. While other pilots gripe about their backseaters, Bram never does. He seems to understand that Gregory is trying, really trying, even when trying isn't quite enough. On the night of December 14th, 1941, they're flying their 3rd patrol of the week. Soul-destroying work. Take off from RAF Wittering at 11:30 p.m. Climb into the endless black. Spend hours carving search patterns over the North Sea, eyes burning for shadows that might be German bombers, or might be nothing at all. The cold is a living thing, vicious, unrelenting. The only light is the faint green glow of the instrument panel and the occasional silver flash of stars through ragged cloud. Gregory's moment of truth doesn't come in a blaze of brilliance. It comes in frantic, desperate rechecking. As Bram calls out the lights ahead, Gregory scrambles to work backwards. Takeoff time, headings, airspeeds, the wind report from the Met officer before departure. And then he sees it, clear as day. He's been applying the wind correction in the wrong direction for the entire homeward leg. Panic floods him first, hot and sharp. They're not closing on England. They're plunging deeper into enemy airspace, somewhere over the Netherlands, maybe even northern Germany. Those lights Bram sees, they're not British, they're German. But the second thought crashes in right behind the panic, and it changes everything. If those are German lights, if they're this far from any known Luftwaffe base, if there are multiple lights suggesting something big, then they've stumbled onto something enormous. Bob? Gregory's voice is tight, almost breaking as he keys the intercom. Those aren't our lights. We're over enemy territory. I made a navigation error. We're approximately 60 miles east of where we should be. A long, heavy silence. Then Bram, calm, impossibly calm. Well then, Sticks, let's take a closer look, shall we? Bram banks the bowfighter gently, bleeding altitude to 6,000 feet. Gregory's heart pounds so hard he feels it in his throat. Everything screams that this is madness. They're deep in enemy airspace. No authorization. No backup. Fuel margins already thin. Turn back now and they might make it. But if German night fighters scramble, if flak opens up, if they simply run dry over the North Sea, they're dead, one way or another. Yet Bram keeps descending. 5,000 feet, 4,000. The lights sharpen below them. Gregory cranes his neck, peering past the tail. Not just lights now, dozens of them, laid out in unmistakable patterns. I'm seeing runway lights, Bram reports, voice steady even as they court disaster. Multiple runways, large installation. Aircraft on the ground, I count at least 20, maybe more. Gregory's shaking hands fumble with his gear, trying to pin an exact fix. Adrenaline has replaced the cold. He barely feels his fingers now. He takes bearings on the lights, cross-references with his recalculated position, scribbles frantic notes. They have to be able to find this place again. Intelligence has to know exactly where it is. There are bombers down there, Bram continues. Heinkel 111s, Junkers 88s. This is a major bomber base, Sticks. This is exactly what intelligence has been tearing their hair out looking for. The bowfighter orbits wide at 3,500 feet. Gregory logs more bearings, sketches the layout he can now make out. 3 runways in a triangle, aircraft dispersed around the edges, hangars, fuel dumps, barracks blocks. This isn't some forward strip. This is a full-scale Luftwaffe bomber station. And then, without warning, the searchlights snap on. Blinding white beams stab upward, sweeping the sky like swords. Tracers arc toward them, bright red chains climbing fast. The Germans know they have company. Time to leave, Bram snaps. He slams the throttles wide and throws the bowfighter into a violent diving turn. The airframe shudders as flak bursts bloom around them, close enough that Gregory hears the sharp cracks over the roaring engines. They're running for their lives now, engines howling, racing west at full power. Searchlights claw after them, tracers fade behind. Gregory keeps working through the chaos, refining bearings, double-checking, triple-checking, because he knows what waits when they land. He'll have to stand up and admit he nearly killed them both with a schoolboy error. He'll face an inquiry, maybe a court-martial, almost certainly the end of his flying career. But he'll also hand British intelligence the greatest breakthrough of the air war so far. And that makes every second of terror worth it. They touch down at RAF Wittering at 4:23 a.m. Tanks coughing on fumes. Bram taxis to dispersal and cuts the engines. For a long moment, both men just sit in the sudden silence, breathing hard, letting the night settle around them. Then Bram's voice, soft over the intercom one last time. "Sticks, whatever happens next, we did the right thing. Remember that." The debrief begins immediately. Flight Lieutenant James Harrington, the intelligence officer, listens to their story with growing skepticism. When Gregory confesses the navigation mistake, Harrington's face hardens. When Bram describes the vast airfield they found, the disbelief is plain. "Let me be sure I understand this correctly," Harrington says, voice dripping ice. "You flew 60 miles off course because of a navigation error. You then deliberately penetrated deep into enemy airspace without orders. You descended to low level over what you claim is a secret German airfield. And you expect me to accept this based on a sighting by a crew that was, by your own admission, hopelessly lost." "Sir, I have the exact coordinates," Gregory protests, sliding his notebook across the table. "Multiple bearings. I can show you precisely where it is." Harrington barely glances at it. "Flight Sergeant, you've already admitted a catastrophic error. Why should anyone trust a single figure you've calculated? For all we know, you saw a Dutch civilian field and mistook it for a Luftwaffe base." The argument escalates. Bram, usually so composed, raises his voice. "I know what I saw, sir. That was a major Luftwaffe installation. At least 20 bombers on the ground. At night, from 3,500 feet. While being shot at," Harrington fires back, shaking his head. "Your report is noted, Lieutenant, but I cannot recommend action on such unreliable intelligence. You're both grounded pending full investigation into this unauthorized incursion." By breakfast, the story has swept the squadron like wildfire. Gregory faces pitying looks and outright mockery. Some navigators believe him. Others think he's spinning a wild tale to save face. Senior officers agree. Gregory botched it, and now he's making excuses. But one man believes them. Wing Commander Basil Embry, the station commander, is a maverick with a chest full of ribbons from his own daring missions. He knows real intelligence sometimes arrives wrapped in mistakes. When he reads Harrington's dismissive report, he makes a decision that will rewrite history. On December 15th, Wing Commander Basil Embry summons them to his office. The air is thick with tension. Bram and Gregory stand before him. So do Harrington, Squadron Leader Derek Jackson from Intelligence, and Group Captain Victor Beamish, the Sector Commander. "Gentlemen," Embry begins, his voice low but edged with steel. "We have a potential intelligence breakthrough here, and I will not let it be buried just because it arrived in an unorthodox package." Harrington objects at once. "Sir, with respect, we cannot commit operational resources based on a sighting from a crew that was admittedly lost. The risk is unacceptable." Jackson jumps in, voice sharp. "We've chased every credible lead for months, all dead ends. Now we're meant to believe a simple navigation mistake stumbled onto a major German base? The odds are astronomical." The room explodes. Voices clash, overlapping. Harrington insists that sending aircraft to Gregory's coordinates would waste precious resources. Jackson argues that even if the field exists, the Germans will have cleared it the moment they were spotted. Beamish frets over risking irreplaceable reconnaissance machines on what could be a phantom. Embry lets the storm rage for 5 full minutes. Then he slams his palm on the desk. The crack silences everyone. "Enough!" His eyes sweep the room. "Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning, we send one single Spitfire to those coordinates. One aircraft. One sortie. If the airfield is there, we've just handed ourselves the biggest intelligence coup of the year. If it isn't, we've lost nothing but a few gallons of fuel. That is a gamble I'm willing to take." He turns to Gregory, gaze hard as flint. "Flight Sergeant, you'd better be right. Because if you're wrong, your career is finished." Gregory swallows, throat dry. "I'm right, sir. I stake my life on it." December 16th, 1941. Dawn breaks clear and bitterly cold over eastern England. At RAF Benson, Flight Lieutenant Anthony "Tony" Hill straps into his Spitfire Photo Reconnaissance Mark IV. Stripped of guns, painted pale blue for high-altitude camouflage, it's built for one thing: seeing without being seen. His orders are simple. Fly to Gregory's coordinates. Photograph whatever is there. Come home. He's heard the whispers. Half the intelligence staff think this is a fool's errand. The other half pray the lost Navigator somehow got it right. Hill lifts off at 8:47 a.m. He climbs steadily to 28,000 feet, above the reach of most German flak, and sets course for the Dutch coast. The sky is flawless, crystal clear, perfect for cameras. He reaches the coordinates at 9:34 a.m. What he sees through the viewfinder steals his breath. There, exactly where Gregory said it would be, sprawls a massive airfield. Hill makes 3 careful passes, cameras whirring. He counts 43 aircraft parked below: bombers, fighters, transports. He captures the 3 runways, the hangars, the fuel dumps, the barracks, every detail in sharp, damning clarity. When he touches down back at Benson at 11:12 a.m., he's grinning ear to ear. It's there, he tells the intelligence officers who swarmed the aircraft. Everything they described, it's all there. This is the real thing. The photographs are rushed into development. Within hours, prints race to RAF intelligence headquarters at Bentley Priory. By evening, they land on Air Chief Marshal Sholto Douglas's desk. The verdict is unanimous. This is Gilze-Rijen airfield in the Netherlands, a major Luftwaffe bomber station British intelligence never suspected existed. Post-war German records will later confirm it. Gilze-Rijen was home to Kampfgeschwader 30, a bomber wing flying Junkers 88s on night raids against Britain since September 1941. The impact hits like a thunderbolt. Within 24 hours, RAF Bomber Command begins planning a full-scale strike. But first, they watch. For 3 weeks, reconnaissance Spitfires return daily. Signals intelligence listens to the base's radio chatter. The picture sharpens into perfect focus. Gilze-Rijen is one of the Luftwaffe's primary launch points for night attacks on Britain. On January 7, 1942, the hammer falls. 48 Bristol Blenheim bombers, escorted by Spitfires, roar over Gilze-Rijen in broad daylight. The raid is devastating. Bombs rip apart 2 hangars, crater the main runway, destroy or cripple 17 German aircraft on the ground. 23 Germans lie dead, 41 wounded. Gilze-Rijen is silenced for 11 precious days. But the true value stretches far beyond one raid. With Gilze-Rijen in their hands, British analysts now know exactly what to hunt for. Coastal but not too coastal locations, clever camouflage, dispersal patterns. Using those lessons, they uncover 3 more secret airfields within a month. Leeuwarden in the Netherlands, Soesterberg near Utrecht, and Schiphol near Amsterdam. The numbers tell a story of transformation. In the 3 months before Gilze-Rijen's discovery, German night bombers flew 347 sorties against Britain, losing aircraft at just 3.7%. In the 3 months after the discovery and the raids that followed, sorties dropped to 198, and losses climbed to 8.4%. British night fighters, now patrolling close to known launch points, improved their kill ratio by 127%. The human toll shifts just as dramatically. British civilian deaths from night bombing fall from an average of 416 per month September to December 1941, to 187 per month, January to March 1942. That's 687 British lives saved in 3 months alone, directly because Gregory's mistake tore the veil from the Luftwaffe's hidden bases. From the German side, the shock is palpable. Oberleutnant Klaus Hübner, a Junkers 88 pilot with Kampfgeschwader 30 at Gilze-Rijen, wrote in his diary after the January 7th raid, "The British have found us. Our sanctuary is no longer safe. We thought we were invisible, but somehow they have pierced our veil of secrecy. Morale is suffering. The men know we are now vulnerable, that the British bombers will return." And return they did. Between January and June 1942, RAF Bomber Command hits the 4 secret airfields 17 separate times. 127 German aircraft destroyed or damaged on the ground. 342 German personnel killed or wounded. Vital resources dragged away from offense to desperate defense. For Gregory and Bram, vindication arrives quietly, but it arrives. They are taken off the grounded list. Instead, they fly night patrols again, now armed with priceless knowledge of where the enemy truly lives. On February 23, 1942, Bram bags a Heinkel 111 near Gilze-Rijen, his 8th kill. By war's end, he will stand among the RAF's top night fighter aces with 29 confirmed victories. Gregory stays as his navigator through 1942 and into 1943. Despite his shaky beginning, he grows into one of the most trusted backseaters in the command. Later evaluations praise him. Has developed into an exceptional navigator. His attention to detail and relentless double-checking make him a model for others. In March 1942, a letter arrives from a bomber pilot Gregory has never met. Flight Lieutenant Michael Stevens, part of the January 7th raid on Gilze-Rijen. Stevens writes, "We destroyed German bombers that would have killed British civilians. We disrupted operations that would have cost British lives. Because of your discovery, because you had the courage to admit your mistake and report what you saw, my crew and I came home safely that day. Because of you, we came home." The full weight of William Gregory's accidental discovery only emerges years later, when British intelligence finally opens its files in 1949. Historians pore over the declassified documents, and they're stunned by the ripple effects of one freezing night in December 1941. The unmasking of Gilze-Rijen doesn't just give the RAF 4 secret airfields. By the end of 1942, the new analytical methods, born from studying how the Germans hid Gilze-Rijen, led to the identification of 17 additional secret or heavily camouflaged Luftwaffe bases across occupied Europe. The techniques become doctrine. How the Germans choose locations, how they drape camouflage netting, how they disperse aircraft to fool cameras. Photo reconnaissance interpreters across the Allied air forces adopt these lessons as gospel. Those same methods later help uncover German V weapon sites, submarine pens, experimental radar installations. The raw numbers are staggering. Between January 1942 and May 1945, Allied bombers fly 347 raids against airfields first spotted using the Gilze-Rijen techniques. They destroy or damage 4,127 German aircraft on the ground. They kill or wound 11,430 German personnel. They disrupt countless bombing missions that would otherwise have rained death on Allied cities and armies. Air Chief Marshal Sir Sholto Douglas, in his post-war memoirs published in 1963, reflects with quiet awe. The discovery of Gilze-Rijen was a turning point in the air war over Europe. It proved that German operational security, for all its excellence, was not unbreakable. It gave us the tools and the confidence to systematically hunt down and destroy the Luftwaffe's hidden infrastructure. And it all began because a young navigator made a mistake and had the courage to report what he found. The legacy lives on long after the guns fall silent. Today, the principle that vital intelligence can arrive from the most unexpected sources, even errors and accidents, is taught in military intelligence schools around the world. At the United States Air Force Intelligence School at Goodfellow Air Force Base, the Gilze-Rijen discovery is a required case study. Instructors drive home one lesson above all: report every observation, no matter how it came about. You never know which mistake might save thousands of lives. As for William Gregory himself, he wants no part of fame. After the war, he goes back to Nottingham, back to retail. He manages a grocery store until retirement in 1979. Quietly, steadily, the same unassuming man he always was. Reporters occasionally track him down. He brushes them off. He deflects every ounce of credit. To Bob Bram for having the guts to investigate the lights. To Wing Commander Embry for trusting them. To the reconnaissance pilots who proved it. To the bomber crews who struck the bases. In 1988, at age 70, Gregory finally sits down for one long interview with an RAF historian. His closing words sum up the humility that defined him. "I made a mistake. A potentially fatal mistake. But Bob Bram had the sense to take a closer look at what we'd found.
And Wing Commander Embry had the courage to believe us. I was just the navigator who got the math wrong. They were the real heroes." William Gregory passes away in 1994 at age 76. His obituary in the Nottingham Post mentions his wartime service in a single, understated sentence. But in the classified archives of RAF intelligence, in the history books that chronicle the savage air war over Europe, his name stands forever beside one of the greatest intelligence breakthroughs of the Second World War. All because, on one bitter December night high above the North Sea, he subtracted when he should have added, and accidentally changed the course of history.